Alright, we're going to start the stream. Let me pull up the channel. Should appear in a moment. Takes a couple seconds. Alright, we are live. I need to change the title of this because it says it's a mock draft simulator, and I'm not going to subject you to that again. So let me change the title of the live stream. And yeah, this will be our last live stream before the draft. Where has the time gone?
Did I really sound as disinterested as I really was?
Some people seem to get that impression. I think the lag didn't help though. That certainly was a challenge and issue.
It did. Look, I mean, they're not my favorite things to do, but I really, more than anything, I wanted to let kind of the people in the chat have. Yeah, I didn't want to kind of dictate which way things should go. I mean, we obviously have this thing for the let the people participate in the chat and all like that as well too. So I'm sorry if I sounded like Debbie Downer in last week. So I apologize. Right. I'll try to do better this week.
That's okay. Yeah, sorry. I'm getting YouTube Studio wants to make me have to do stuff, which I don't want to do right now. YouTube wants to change things constantly. Okay, so should be good for the live stream. Let me also tweet out the link. You guys feel free to ask questions. Dave and I are here for the next hour. Dave, you want to take the first couple questions? Feel free to while I kind of get things set up on our end.
Trying to find out where your link is to this thing. It hasn't shown up yet.
You tried refreshing the channel. Thank you, Wes. Ping Colton, Pink King Colton, you got it? Okay, time of the NFL draft, it starts Thursday at 8, right? 8 o'clock Eastern time. Wes says Dave's got a bit of an echo. Dave sounds weird.
Yeah, I sound weird normally. Testing, do you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Do I sound better?
Let me turn your audio down a little bit. Dave, here we go. Okay. Yeah. Test it now.
Maybe. Testing. Am I still echoey? Testing. Hello, Gino.
Hello, different type of weird. Hello, mutated Gino. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, I sound like a robot. Domo arigato, Mr. Potato.
Should be okay now. I don't know. Do I sound okay, or is it just Dave, or is my audio also a little funky?
It says it's still echoing, but I mean it's not that bad. All
right, well, we might have to
I muted everything here. I know I turned on his audio for just a moment there. Let me close out some of this, see if I can get it to run.
They say I'm okay. Dave's audio is a little.
Is it laggy, echoey? What?
I mean, they're saying echoey. Yeah, I don't know. Well, let me tweet out the link, though, too, so we get some more people here in the chat.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger. That's way, that happened way before Alex was born.
Yeah, that one's way over my head. All right, so thank you guys for being here. Again, we're here for the next hour. Feel free to ask any questions. Obviously, NFL Draft on Thursday. Mike Tomlin and Kevin Colbert just had their virtual pre-draft press conference. Some decent information there that, I would ask some different questions, but what can you do?
They say I sound like you're in an empty room. That type of echo.
I don't know. I don't know how to fix that. But you can hear it as long as Dave's audio is loud enough. Then I think that's going to be sufficient. Probably good as it's going to get right now.
Yeah, maybe next time I'll reboot before I get one of these, and maybe that'll help. I don't know.
All right. So, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat about the draft. We have one from Thomas Cole. What are your thoughts on Tomlin and Colbert's awards on the running backs? Dave, feel free to take that one to start while I tweet out the link.
Well, first and foremost, here's my main question, and Alex and I kind of addressed this during the podcast this morning, but at the time we had not heard the exact context in which it was said. And all since then, we obviously have the full audio to that, and went back and listened to the complete chat with Tomlin and Colbert. And if you haven't heard that yet, it's on Steelers.com now. Why does Kevin Colbert feel the need to always bring up James Conner? Would be my only thing. It wasn't like he was asked specifically about James Conner or the other running backs. I don't. It's okay for him to say, okay, we have other running backs along those lines, but I find it weird that he that he felt the need, and really all offseason feels the need to keep telling us about James Conner and his acute injuries and kind of them expecting him, in so many words, to bounce back. That to me is kind of, makes me want to put my tinfoil hat on.
Well, what I'm putting my tinfoil hat on for is I feel like there's a bit of a divide between Tomlin and Colbert's thoughts on the running back position. Now, to be fair, this is the first time we've really heard Tomlin talk about it because he just hasn't been accessible during this process. But I have the comments and the quotes on Studios Depot you guys see on screen right now. When Tomlin was asked pretty point blank, I think the best question actually asked in the whole chat from Ed Bouchette, basically saying, like, do you guys need a running back? And Tomlin's first sentence, just look at the first sentence of what both guys say. Tomlin says, like we've mentioned earlier, we've got a lot of needs. He then says we've got some top quality backs in this draft who can help us. So that's Tomlin's first sentence, immediately pivots to needs. Colbert's first sentence, as you mentioned, Dave. To add to that, I know that starting the season will have a healthy James Conner. So Tomlin jumps to needs, draft prospects. Colbert jumps to the guys that they already have. That is very different. About as different I think you're going to get with those answers back-to-back between those two guys.
I guess it's a matter of interpretation with Tomlin. I almost take it as like we've got a lot of needs other than running back. Okay. I get you. Could you interpret it like that? How do people? Okay, I tell you what.
Chat.
Throw us out of it. What do people in the chat interpret? I don't know if they heard it live or not, but. Based on the way it's written, and I know that's hard sometimes if they didn't hear the full context of it, what do people in the chat feel like Tomlin was saying?
Yeah, I'd love to hear what the chat has to say. I mean, Tomlin's next sentence is then we've got some top quality backs in the draft who can help us, which kind of I think puts needs and top backs in association. Now he does pivot to the broader. We got some other positional guys, and he goes vague towards the end, but at the beginning he gets kind of specific, and I thought that it's a very different answer. It's a different direction he took that answer than Colbert did, at least the way I look at it.
And throw Tomlin's comments out, okay? Together. Why? Go back to answering my question. Why does Kevin Colbert feel the need every time he talks about the running back group if he's not asked about a specific player to have to feel like he has to bring up James Conner in his situation?
Sure. Well, from Colbert's standpoint, it sounds like he's comfortable. He literally says, "But I'm not going into the draft thinking we don't have a starter-capable runner because I know James Conner is." So it's a big vote of confidence from Colbert to Conner. Tomlin, I didn't get that same warm and fuzzy feeling.
I guess what you're saying, I guess, too, you can kind of, is this, for some reason, is Colbert apologizing to Conner ahead of time, or is he apologizing to Steeler fans that want the team to draft a running back because he's not going to draft one,
I don't think it's any apologizing. I think it's just, I think it's a different dynamic. Like Tomlin, I wrote this article. When injuries happen, Tomlin's got to deal with it day to day. Colbert's a big picture kind of guy. He can just look at the broader view of Conner. When he's healthy, he's really good. We have some potential. We've drafted these guys. Tomlin's the guy that has to deal with it directly when someone gets hurt, and it's probably more annoying to him than it is to Colbert.
Like I'll go back to what I say all the time this time of year when it comes to Colbert and him talking, and really Tomlin that for that matter during this part of the offseason for sure. I always like to overparse everything because I like to look for the littlest bit of clues that I can get sometimes. And to me there is no reason whatsoever for him to bring up James Conner in any of these questions. So that all. To me, that's almost like a sign that, look, we've said several times, and he's done that, this just isn't the only time. He's said several times, so far this offseason, acute injuries, James Conner, we feel he could get back, why does he even need to say that ahead of a draft? Why not just say, why not just take the generic, we're not going to, if we feel we can add to the room, we'll add to the room. If not, we won't, because, look, he's going to stay generic as possible in this. It's not like he's going to tip his hand which way he's going. I just find it quite curious that he keeps bringing up James Conner unprovoked.
Yeah. So it'll be very interesting to see which way they go. Cam R asks, what do you think about wide receiver Chase Claypool at 49 for the Steelers? 49's too rich for me, Cam. Dave, I don't know if you're 49 Claypool too high, or would you be willing to go there?
To me, that's a little high. I kind of view him as a third-round guy. Look, he's got a level of raw. I like him. I did a large selection of his games, contextualized and all, but I don't view him as that second-round guy. I view him more as a third-round guy. So, in other words, if you waited on a wide receiver and you got Claypool at 102, I don't see anything wrong with that. I just don't think I think drafting him at 49 overall is over drafting him.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't find his value to be there because look, this and I just posted this up on the site just a little while ago about Colbert's comments on the deep wide receiver class and all like that. And I think there's going to be a lot of good receivers that fall down into the bottom of the third round there because of that. I just personally don't view Claypool because of him being a raw route runner, a little bit of questionable hands and all. I mean, he's still a role play. To me, I view Michael Pittman as like that type of second round guy. Okay, I don't view Claypool as on the same level as Pittman. So I got him Claypool round lower.
Yeah, same here. Wes Hickok. So I've been looking at a couple players. It's been suggested Antoine Winfield, the safety from Minnesota, lacks athleticism, but I'm watching him. It looks like he plays well. I think he tested really well. He ran in the 4.4s. His testing was excellent. So lack of athleticism is not the concern for me with Antoine Winfield Jr.
Oh no, not me either. Look, I mean, you want to talk about a guy, that I think you have to put in the mix right there. If he's on the board there in the second round, it's him. Mm-hmm. I really believe that.
Yeah. I still go with a general, and just to be vague about it, but I think it's much more likely they take offense than they take defense at 49. That's my feel to it.
Mine too. We talked about that on the podcast. So look, mm-hmm. I'd say that as well too. And they didn't say it during their interview today and all like that, but. If I were to bet on this, I would bet that it's going to be offense will be the first player. Heck, it might even be the first two players.
Right, but as you've said, it depends how the board falls. If the board falls the right way, there's a big run on receivers, backs are gone, then you may go defense, and I wouldn't have an issue with that. Sean Linsky, hopefully I'm saying that correctly. I'm probably butchering that. More likely to be on the Steelers in 2021, Bud Dupree or James Conner? It's Dupree easily, to me. Much higher chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Bud Dupree, much higher chance because look, I mean, Colbert has said several times, and really, AR2, Art Rooney II, really. So they franchise tag the player with the hope of getting him signed to a long-term deal. Mm-hmm. So whether or not that'll come by the July deadline, we'll see. Obviously, if they don't get him signed, then that obviously changes things. But I don't think it increases the chances of James Conner any whatsoever because I don't think James Conner is going to get a new deal before the start of this regular season, and then that means unless you magically re-signed him before free agency started in next March, then he's going to at least test free agency, and there's a good chance he might be gone. And especially if they draft another back this year or in the early rounds, because in so many words they're telling James Conner, look, you ain't the future, So I think a better chance Bud Dupree will be on this team in 2021 than James Conner.
I agree. Knoxley asks, hey guys, who do you like more, Mims or Pittman for our offense? Mims, I like him most overall, probably also for the offense, but Mims a lot less likely to be there at 49 than Michael Pittman Jr.
I think they're right close together, to be honest with you, But boy, I can't help but going back to thinking, especially in 2019 tape. I think Mims' 2019 tape's definitely better than Pittman's. Mm-hmm. Especially from a contested catch standpoint and down the field standpoint. They're both. Look, I don't think Steeler fans would be disappointed to have either one of those guys, Right. But I think, Mims, I think I'd rank a little bit higher. But look, 8 weeks ago, I would have told you, heck no, Pittman's a third or fourth round guy. But I went back and I wondered what I was missing. I went back and looked at the 2017, 2018 tape, and I'm glad I did because I think he's a lot. Now I have myself questioning maybe he won't be on the board at 49 overall. That's how big of a gap. A swing I've made since turning on his 2017 and 2018 tape versus his 2019 tape, because those things I was hoping to, or that I did not feel like I saw in his 2019 tape. Like I told you during the podcast, I saw those things. I saw the contested catches. I saw kind of those wow catches. You go back to that Ohio State game, and what did I tell you? 2017. The late game again in 2017, and then also kind of the red zone production in that, or that red zone catch against Purdue, I think in 2017 as well there. So Yeah, both those guys. I don't think Steeler fans should have issue with either one of those guys.
And Curtis, that basically answers hopefully your question about Michael Pittman. I think we both like him. I like the fit more of Pittman more than I like Pittman the prospect, but certainly in play for the Steelers at 49, but also may not be there as well. Grant, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everybody who's been here in the chat. Let's see other questions.
Do I still sound robotic to everybody? Hello. Today. I am the happiest man.
That's not going to help. That's not going to help anyone.
Do I sound robotic? Do I sound echoey still?
Yeah.
People in the chat.
Let us know if Dave sounds okay. Sounds pretty good on my end. Let's see other questions. I'll make sure we get to every question we can here today. Wes, having nothing to do with the Steelers, who's your favorite non-first round prospect in this draft? Alex and Dave, favorite non-first round prospect? That's a good question. I don't know. I've always had a big man crush on Akeem Davis-Gaither, the inside linebacker from Appalachian State. A little undersized, but just a really good athlete with excellent instincts. Josh Kelly's an easy guy to love, running back from UCLA. Not in terms of the tape, but just easy guy to root for. So a couple of names for you there.
I'll try to keep my answers a little bit briefer, being as how I'm kind of robotic here. But I will say definitely Charlie Warner. I'm a big Charlie Warner.
That's got to be number one.
And Brandon Jones. I really think he's a middle round guy, the hearts and smarts, and I think he's a guy that can help a team. So I will say the Texas safety Brandon Jones would be the other one.
There you go. And just as a preview for those in the chat, Dave, your mock draft, is it going to be up tomorrow? Is that your plan? Sometime Tuesday?
I'm working. I got to get on it after we get off this chat and all like that. So that's what I'm aiming for. It's going to be a lot of people can predict a lot of things in it. I would think it's going to be uber safe.
Hey, risk it.
If there is such a thing, there's such a thing for a mock draft.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. My mock draft will be up Wednesday, and my full 7-round mock draft will be up Thursday, and we'll have a whole bunch of other stuff ready for you guys in the next couple of days. Samantha Eckhorn, thank you for being here every week. If Colbert and Tomlin have found good receivers in the later rounds in previous years, wouldn't it be reasonable to think the same could happen this year? Dave, I'll let you start with this one.
Do I think they can get a good receiver late? I mean, I don't think it's impossible, especially in this draft class. But look, I mean, the talent's in the first 4 rounds, I think. So.
Yeah, I mean, they've drafted guys late. Obviously, AB's the poster child to that. But lately, they've been drafting a lot of guys early as well. Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster, James Washington, all taken within the top 100 picks. So Colbert's comments here, you had the article on it from today. So we do feel good about that group. It's a deep group. There's dynamic players. There's some nice depth guys, some slot types, some big outside guys. So it's a nice group, and I feel good about it, from an evaluation standpoint. Probably as we feel as good about that position as we do any other, and I believe receiver is the deepest and arguably one of the best positions in the draft. So doesn't have to happen at 49. I do think they're going to take one at some point, whether that's, the guys we mentioned early, later round guys, James Prochet, Devin Duvernay, Marquise Callaway from Tennessee, a name to keep in mind as a 6th-round option for Pittsburgh. So they will take a receiver. We'll just see when it is. Nikki D.
I think they'll take one before their 2nd, 4th round pick. I can't see them taking one in the 6th or 7th round.
Yeah, it's just tough though because of the lack of draft capital. Like, don't you see them taking a safety by the time the 4th round's over?
Yeah.
Yeah, and same with offensive line, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you do that for a lot of positions. Edge. I mean, I see him taking an edge by the end of the 4th round. So it's like. So I'll have an article in the morning about why Kevin Colbert should really look to trade back because we're trying to fit a lot of pieces into very few draft capital. Nikki D, haven't heard a lot about Gandy Golden. That's the receiver from Liberty. Have you guys reviewed his tape?
Talking about him today, yeah.
Yeah, check out the podcast, Nikki. He was at the Senior Bowl. He was okay. I just don't get too excited by the tape, to be honest with you.
I don't either. I never did a contextualization on him. But I mean, I just. Look, I'm not seeing it. I see him more along the lines as another kind of. I'd take Claypool, I think, before I would.
100%.
Gandy Golden too. So looking more like a later 4th round, talent in Gandy Golden in my eyes.
Sounds about right. Logan DiLorenzo, from hearing Tomlin today, he didn't close the door as hard on running back. I agree. I think he left the door very much wide open. We'll see how the board falls, though. If not Jonathan Taylor, who the Steelers had a FaceTime meeting with sometime this past month. You're seeing in the article right now. Then watch out for Cam Akers from Florida State, potentially at 49, also maybe there at 102. Grant Humphrey, what are some strengths of Justin Madubuike? That is a defensive tackle from Texas A&M. I think his overall strength, he might be 293 pounds, but I think he's very stout at the point of attack. He's got good length at 33.5 or so inch arms and a good athleticism with probably even better bend than a guy like Neville Gallimore, who is a little tight hit in the hips and ankles, and also good production as well. Talk about guys like Gallimore and Blacklock, two guys he's kind of competing with. Madubuike has much better production than both of those guys. Thomas Cole, question, why get Chris Wormley when he won't play nose tackle? Is this because of rotation of the D-line keeping Hayward and Tuitt fresh, or a new defensive package? Dave, what are your thoughts on that?
I just think, look, I mean, you can never have too many rotational guys. I don't think you can continue to throw Cam Hayward and Stephon Tuitt out there for 79% of the snaps, week in and week out,
We've seen injuries with those guys too, obviously.
Right. Injuries. Look, Tyson, he had a great season last year, but how much more can you get out of Tyson Alulu? Buggs is still a developing player. On top of it, we still got a lot to learn about him. So, Wormley just is a nice guy to have in that rotation, even if it does just wind up being a one-year rental.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully it's not a one-year rental. I don't want to Nick Vannett 2.0 this, though I think Vannett will be worse in terms of talent than Chris Wormley. But
then they would have to sign him pretty soon, you would think, Well,
I mean, would they trade for him with the idea that he's a rental? I mean, would that be their plan, their goal? That seems like a bad plan.
Well, it was a bad plan.
Both. It would be a bad plan. But at least Vannett, it was like, okay, we got to have this guy right now. Because middle of the season, we don't have a whole lot of options. I mean, you had options. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But
if you're Wormley, why would you sign a deal right now unless it was very lucrative?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't, but maybe hopefully before the start of free agency. But I know that maybe the odds aren't great there, but certainly it could happen.
Well, if he has a good year, then he probably can't wait to hit free agency. Then at least to test the market. That's why I say you're probably not going to franchise tag him, right?
No, you're not going to franchise tag Chris.
So there you go. I would not be surprised this time next year if he isn't on the roster.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't shock me, but it's curious. Good player, but the fit and the long-term plan were curious with the trade. Donald Tillman, what do you think about Jeremy Chin at 49? Not going to happen, or I shouldn't say not, but unlikely to happen because, again, I think it's offense they're going to go. Smaller school guy, he was at the Senior Bowl, did perform well, tested really well at the Combine. The fit is interesting, kind of that dime backer. He's up there with Kyle Duggar, very similar type of guys, but not seeing Chin at 49. With limited picks, 49 has to be BPA. Need be damned. Unless a receiver or running back they have rated as 1, there are plenty of good wide receiver running back available in later rounds. That's from Mark Miller. Yeah, I get that. It's never, for Pittsburgh and for most teams, it's never strictly BPA. If the best guy's a quarterback, I'm not taking a quarterback. It's where, value and need intersect at its highest point. That's always the way I've looked at the draft philosophy. JJ Walker, Alex, how do you not see the elusiveness that DeAndre Swift has? I see some of the elusiveness. He can make plays in space. There was that run against Kentucky, which is one of the best runs you're going to see of any back in this class, I think, from 2 or 3 years ago. It's really kind of the lack of power that he has, which is my biggest issue. He really struggled in some downhill, short yardage situations. I don't know if the vision is great either. So it's really just kind of a power issue for me with Swift than it is an elusiveness issue.
Yeah, he's my RB number 1. So
yeah, I might bump him to 4 if I put Dobbins at 5, but I got Jonathan Taylor and Edwards-Helaire as 1 and 2 for me. Pitman, should the Steelers go after Leonard Fournette? No. Just you're not, because then you got to pay him like next year, or you lose.
Well, here's the thing: he's already going to have a $4 million salary.
Yep.
Assuming unless you can get Jacksonville to eat any of that, which I doubt they're going to. You're going to have to give up something, in the form of a draft pick to get him, right? So $4 million salary, which already is going to be tight. You couldn't afford it right now. You'd have to end up restructuring or doing something, with someone else to help you afford that. The draft capital it would cost to get him, and then also you're basically talking about a 1-year rental unless you're prepared to go ahead because you'd have to pick up his 5th-year option this offseason, I think.
Yep.
On top of it, there. So I just don't. I don't see it for what would essentially be a 1-year rental.
Yeah, just go draft one. You're going to do that. Just go draft a guy. Dave Duncan, what Michigan player who is most likely to be a Steelers pick? Wow, take your pick. I mean, you can go through basically the entire Michigan draft eligible pool, and they would all make sense. Are you going to go Kaliki Hudson?
No, I still think there's a halfway shot Ruiz for some reason. Of course, I think that to happen at 49 overall. If it did happen, I'll give you two: Ruiz or John Runyon Jr. at the very tail end of the draft. I think would and Donovan Peoples-Jones, who we talked about on the podcast this morning. I think those three would be kind of the most likely.
Yeah, I'll go with Runyon Jr. at first, and then I'll go with Kaliki Hudson, and then Lavert Hill, the corner, is a guy we haven't talked a whole lot about. I could see Lavert Hill being like a 7th-round pick. Maybe them take a flyer on a corner, but a ton of Michigan guys. They all make a lot of sense there. Let's see what else we have here. Questions. Andy Townsend, do you think the Steelers will take Shane Lemieux in the 2nd round if he's available? That is the guard from Oregon. 2nd round is far too high for where Lemieux is going to go. He's more of an early, at best, day 3 type of pick, so I don't see Lemieux being in the cards at 49. Steeler Nation highlights. If you had your pick out of Pittman, Winfield, and Matty Buke at 49, in which direction would you go? No wrong answers there. That's a tough one. My first thought went to Matty Buke, but I don't know in that situation. That's a very good question, Steeler Nation highlights. Dave, you have a favorite?
What was my choice? Matty Buke, Pittman, or
Winfield?
Oh wow! So that's what I'm. That's really the struggle that I'm with my mock draft right now. I've switched it about 3 times right now.
I assume Matty Buke is not playing a big role in that. It's probably Pittman versus Winfield.
No, it's more Pittman versus I think Winfield. Yeah. Probably Pittman.
Yeah, I think both fit well for very similar reasons, just different sides of the football. Wes Hickok, I might have asked this in another show. What do you know about wide receiver Tyler Johnson, Minnesota? Does he fit in Pittsburgh? Just the question is, does he have the athleticism? He was productive with the Golden Gophers. He didn't test, and that's a concern. There's a size, athleticism issue with him. So I don't know a ton about him, but I know that just can he translate to the next level is a concern.
Isn't there something character-wise with him too?
Is there?
Did I read about
sure.
that? I can't remember if I did or not. If he was the one.
I'm not aware of anything, but I have not done so much research that I could tell you one way or the other if that's accurate or not.
Yeah, I don't know. But I've got him more as a 4th or 5th round kind of player.
Yeah, I could even drop further than that just because of the depth of this class. Noxley, is there any other nose tackles besides Gallimore and Matty Buke in play at 49? Not a lot at 49. If Ross Blacklock were to fall, I don't really see him as a nose tackle. Jordan Elliott, maybe. I mean, that's not the most conventional guy for a nose tackle either. I think those are kind of the big two, though, to me at least, Gallimore and Matty Buke. I think that if you want to go with the next tier, like Devon Hamilton or Rashard Lawrence, that conversation starts at 1 or 2 and may drip into the 4th round. Cody Harris, if Cleveland, Pittman, okay, it's a very similar question. If Cleveland, Pittman, Winfield, and Taylor are all on the board at 49, who are you taking? Also, if the Pats trade scenario, 3/3 and a 5th with the players above are there at 49, are you trading out? For me, again, no bad options.
A lot of people on that Dave. A lot of people asking me, "Yo, have you heard about the Dave T trade?" Yeah, I got wind of
You were the first to hear about it.
First to hear about it. People asking me if I hear about it now with him. But it sure has made us run around Steelers Nation. It seems like people are hearing that now, and obviously not saying that they originally told us on our show and all like that, but have at it,
Yeah. What was it here? I would be tempted to go Cleveland just because I see him as a franchise left tackle, and those guys are so hard to find, especially if he happens to fall at 49. But I wouldn't be mad about any of them. Taylor would probably be last on that list, and you can order Pittman or Winfield with a coin toss. Would I take the Pats deal? Strongly consider it. It depends on other trade options. I mean, to go from 49 to 87, I think is their first 3rd rounder is quite the jump. But you get three thirds out of that. It'd be tempting. Doug Swagger, I don't know if this is a compliment or an insult. I think it's a compliment. Why don't you two try getting real scouting jobs for Pittsburgh? You could do it. So I think that last part's the compliment part. I think we're okay with what we're doing right now.
Yeah, I have no issue to leave the house anymore.
How much, this is from Pollock Power 15301, how much say will Matt Canada have in the offense? I think I had the article up earlier. I'll repost it again on Mike Tomlin talking about how Canada not only will work with the quarterbacks, but maybe bring some fresh ideas to the coaching staff.
And look, whoa, the fingerprints, and I wrote in that post from earlier today, the fingerprints should be easy to detect. With the pre-snap motions and the shifts and things along those nature. Look, yeah, I kind of wrote this in the article today too. This sort of along the lines of Terrell Austin being added, over a year ago.
Hmm.
Gives you a guy with some experience. Look, Canada is fresh out of the college game, offensive coordinator. Yeah, he's going to be able to help you out. I think with some, would maybe bring a little bit more aspect of the college game into the offense.
Yep, I'm with you, Dave. Carly McAdams, could you see a team offering a later second round pick and possibly a late third or fourth for the 49th pick? Yeah, absolutely. I wrote the article the other day about why I think the Steelers are in a good spot to trade out because they are in prime tier 2 quarterback territory where you got Jalen Hurts, Jake Fromm, and Jacob Eason, who are going to be there at some point in round 2. And if somebody likes like a New England, a Green Bay, a Detroit, whoever wants to move up, Pittsburgh could trade back. So if I'm Pittsburgh, again, I know you can't guarantee it. It depends on what the offers are, what the board looks like, etc. But if I could move back from 49, move back 10, even 15 spots and pick up a third rounder, I'm probably going to do that. And I have the article here that kind of lays out some of these scenarios. Pittsburgh may have to kick in a fourth rounder in these. I have that in the third scenario I'll show you in a second. But trading, for example, 49 to Green Bay for 62, 94 for them to take Jalen Hurts or whatever quarterback they want to take. Maybe you have to throw in 135 as well. I'd be willing to do that. So have that scenario along with the Patriots one where they trade their 3 third rounders, and a scenario with Detroit where Pittsburgh will trade 49 and 135 to get 67 and pick 85. So very tempted to do that this year. Because you know what Colbert said last year? Was they wanted to have two, they had to have, not wanted, they had to have 2 day 2 picks. That was the reason why they traded this year's third round pick last year for Devin Bush. And I know they technically have that this year with 102, but that 102 is basically like a high fourth rounder. So I'd love to get something a little bit higher than 102. Reginald Rivers, will McCullers and Switzer make the roster? McCullers probably will, just out of a lack of people that kick him off the roster. Switzer is outside looking in heading into the preseason.
Well, the only thing he's got going for him is it looks like he's
Yeah, he
BFF.
can hide in Ben's beard, I think, is his way to the roster.
Even then, man, I think something bad would have to happen in order for him to make it.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. I don't see any value with him. To be honest with you.
Michael Mulhern, who do you guys like as your favorite sleeper picks in the draft? Also, who are your favorite players in the entire draft? That's a good question. I feel almost overloaded because I just finished my full 7-round mock draft and just all the names have jumbled together. I love Denzel Mims as one of my favorite players, period, in this draft. To answer the second part of your question, Dave, outside of Charlie Warner, do you have any other sleepers you like throughout the draft?
No, and look, the thing that I've tried to do over the years is I just try to move on to the next player and evaluate the next player and evaluate the next player, because I think if you look, I mean, everybody knows how up I was on George Kittle, a couple years ago, but it really has to be someone like that. And I really like tight ends and edge rushers to that degree. So I don't sit here and think, oh man, that guy, these 3 guys are my favorite. The thing about Charlie Warner is this is a weak tight end class. And after going through the entire class, I thought, man, Charlie just looks like the best all around tight end in his class, and that's not saying a lot, being as how he wasn't even on a lot of draft boards. Period. So Charlie, I'm rooting for Charlie. Let's put it that way.
All right, fair enough. See, from RN Steelers 8-9, do you guys see KJ Hill being a slot fit for the Steelers? Sure. I think they could kind of use that type of guy. They don't really have that KJ Hill smaller, shiftier separation slot type, and I think he's a slot receiver. That's going to be his calling card in the NFL. Dude ran 4.6 flat, but it has good quickness and great space, so I think Hill is a good fit for any team in the slot, but also for Pittsburgh in the slot. Duck Swagger, which would we be more likely to draft, interior offensive line or tackle? I think both of us have warmed up to the idea of them taking a tackle. I just question, is the talent going to be there? Because by the time the Steelers come around to 49, your top 7 to 8 tackles are going to be off the board, and as opposed to maybe one interior guy that's off the board.
Neither one of us have written about it yet, but what do you think about the answer to the talking about the CBA change and how it might help out true centers more?
Yeah, what was Tomlin's answer? That like it would really only affect if you had a backup center that could only play center, and that would kind of give him that spot. Is that what Tomlin said?
I think in so many words they say it's going to help out, just more center-centric players,
Okay.
which if you want to put your tinfoil hat on, give you a good reason, just the guy that's more apt to just not be so position flexible, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
We've been looking for those centers. Can he play any guard? Can he get a center/guard type? Whereas I don't know. If a guy, a center-centric guy, let's say like Ruiz was there at 48, you run up to the podium.
Yeah, well, I think you would either way. I mean, I think it's just a small factor in things and maybe determining who that guy would be. But yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying there.
Go back and one of us will write about it in the next 24 hours. Maybe Matthew and all, but that's an interesting point of that press conference today.
Mm-hmm. Isaac Mason. In the last few years, Pittsburgh grabbed veterans at positions they ended up drafting with major additions of Wormley, Wisniewski, Watt, and Ebron. Do you see any favorite prospects at those spots? Well, I think Ebron's the one position where it's like, okay, they're probably not going to draft a tight end. Fullback obviously is not going to be part of the equation. So you're really dealing with Wormley, who's a defensive end, and unless you want to get the whole nose tackle DN, distinction, I think nose tackle is an option. The guys we mentioned, Matty Buke, Gallimore, Hamilton, Lawrence, Wisniewski for the interior offensive line. How about one guy we did? I meant to mention in our conversation today on the podcast today was John Simpson from Clemson. I have an article coming out tomorrow that kind of says that John Simpson doesn't have center value, but could actually be a really good fit for Pittsburgh.
Did you like his tape? How much did you like his tape?
Not a lot, but I know he was dealing with an ankle injury. He's 2019, so I bet you if I put on 2018, it probably would look better. When he's on his game, the dude's a big body with a lot of power.
All right, how much 2000? Because I
haven't
only
gotten
watched
18.
his 2019 tape.
Yeah, I haven't gotten 18. I'm just saying I'm guessing. Like the Senior Bowl wasn't that great for him, but I think the dude had an ankle injury that plagued him throughout.
I was from what I thought I would see versus what I saw, early on in the pre-draft process. I wasn't overly impressed with John Simpson.
So other interior guys we've mentioned Hennessy and Ruiz, Cushenberry, Damian Lewis, a lot of LSU guys this year, all potential interior options for Pittsburgh.
Runyon.
Yep, Runyon as well. Let's see. I think I lost my place. Sam Shriver. With only 6 picks, do you think Pitt should target a skill guy that can wear multiple hats, such as Bowden or Gibson? It seems like Pitt's offense has thrived with a Randall L. or Bell type on the team. Listen, I'd love for them to get Antonio Gibson. I think he would be just such a great fit. And when Colbert talks about compliments to James Conner, I think Antonio Gibson would be a great compliment to JC.
He's fun to watch on tape.
Mm-hmm. Just lack of production. 75 touches. I mean, that's what you're going off of. And he wouldn't even seen the field had it not been for their starter Patrick Taylor getting hurt. So
I mean that's a lot. That's not a lot to. Right. That's like a fourth round pick.
Yeah. Absolutely. Knoxley, over under 1.5. How many running backs go in round 1? I think I have 2 in my mock draft, so I'll go over, but it certainly could be under. What do you think?
I'll go under.
Under. So Swift as the 1?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Duck Swagger, is there much conversation in the Steelers draft room while they're on the clock, or have they decided what direction they'll go in every possible scenario already? I mean, I can't answer that with complete confidence. Each draft, each moment is different, but generally you kind of know who you're going to take before you're right on the clock, and then when you're on the clock, you're just kind of dealing with trade offers and trying to see what makes sense in terms of moving up, moving down, negotiating, and that's kind of the thing you're doing on the clock. You kind of already know what player you're going to take if you're staying at your spot.
I would like to think they have it kind of zeroed in on maybe 5 or so guys, right? Unless you run into a situation like several years ago when like DeCastro kind of dropped, and I mean did they tell a story about they didn't even go to that pro day, right? Because they didn't think.
Sounds about right. I mean, there was the year where they had Sean Lee as their top-rated player on the board when their pick came up, but Tomlin got his way and drafted Jason Worlds. And I wonder how much that conversation happens on the clock or prior to it or what. Because usually you just follow your board and whatever the board dictates you go with. But I'd love to know.
I would think you have them stacked enough now over and those two learn to work together now. There's just a matter of taking the Sharpie and crossing the name off and then going to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't see where they're that close where you're having to make make a huge. Like I said, I think they probably got it zeroed in on probably 5 or 6 players if I had to guess.
Right. Yeah. It's not like the movie Draft Day where you're doing all this stuff action packed on the clock and in the moment. This is all about.
I'd like to be a fly in the room in there though.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'd give a lot of money to be in that room. Matthew Things ASMR. Do you think the Steelers have a realistic shot at getting Antoine Winfield Jr.? What's your opinion on him and the Steelers possibly drafting him? I think it's less likely than what Dave thinks, but I still think it's possible.
Yeah, and I am resigned to the fact that I don't think it's going to happen. But I like him. I think people have him still overrated. I think there's a good chance he'll still be on the board there, personally. But look, I think I've said it for a while. I think if you're looking at pure kind of safeties, I think Winfield and Jones are two safeties. Either one of those guys I could see being Steelers. Whether or not he's there, whether or not they pull a trigger on him, we're going to find out though. But I mean, I like him. I just don't view him as much higher than like a top 40 player.
If you had to arbitrarily put a percentage on the odds that Winfield is there at 49, what would you say? If you had to guess, I'll start here. I'll go 20%.
I'll go higher than that.
Well, I knew you were going to go higher, but I'm just giving you my baseline.
I'd say there's a 50-50 chance.
Okay, that's fair. Mike Cantwell, so are you going to move the podcast to Saturday to talk about rounds 2 and 3 since we don't have a first round pick? No, we'll do a special edition of the podcast on Saturday. So we will do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, and probably Sunday, and probably Monday. And so we get a lot of podcasts coming up. RN Steelers fan 89, instead of drafting a running back, doesn't having Ben back instantly help in the run game? I hope Benny Snell football takes a big step forward this year. Sure, there's a lot of factors that will help with the run game. Ben being back, certainly one of them. Teams will have to respect the pass. They won't dare the Steelers quarterback to beat them, because certainly Ben can, and Rudolph Hodges were not able to. So that is one element of it, but not the only element either.
Blah, 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 sunk cost, blah, blah, blah. Connor, blah, 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 Benny Snell, whatever. I'm going to be mad if they, look, I'm resigned to the fact that they could possibly take one. And as we've said on the podcast, if they do take one, they better take one early. But man, it irks me now that it's going to be, how many years in a row now? This would be the 4th year in a row that they draft a running back, if you draft one this year and you draft one early, you damn sure better get it right this time.
You still at 15% for them taking one at 49? You come up at all? Based on Tomlin's comments are pushing me a little bit. I thought that was a little telling as Tomlin's going to get.
Yeah, I'm still about that. Okay. Look, I think there's a good chance that the 4 Tomlins are even off the board. So then it becomes,
sure.
Do they value a guy like, let's say Akers is the odd man out of the 5? Do they value him as that kind of guy? They want and need. At that spot, or is he more along the lines of a 3rd round guy, which we see some people have ranked at. So, I'm still about 15%, I guess.
Grant Humphrey, I've seen Lucky Fotu, the nose tackle from Utah, mocked a whole bunch of the Steelers' thoughts on him. Just kind of a big plugger, a little Alameda, what is his name? Alameda Tiamu. Yeah, saying that right. Mine is hopefully off the field issues. They got Tiamu in a lot of trouble. Yeah, big plugger. 4 career sacks, like 4.5 career sacks, half a sack last season, but a big dude at 330 pounds, whatever he weighs.
Yeah, I think most people have him kind of ranked way too high. I view him more as a later 4th, 5th round guy personally. But
Curtis Herring Jr., do you think Thaddeus Moss would be a good fit? No, not for what Pittsburgh looks for, and I don't know. Neither of us are as crazy about his tape after watching. He's still a good blocker, but as a receiver, he's pretty limited.
Yeah, I found that out right after even before he declared. I had to go. He's one of the ones I turned the tape on first on him, and it wasn't what I expected.
Curtis Herring Jr., I just said that one. Donald Tillman, what do you think of Brian Cole II? That's an interesting name for Mississippi State. Kind of a dimebacker-ish, maybe more hybrid type of player, with I think some decent testing, remembering correctly. He was a former receiver, I believe, and got switched over. He was at a JUCO, and then became a DB with Mississippi State. So I don't know a whole lot about him in terms of on the tape, but interesting name, one worth talking about. Mark Miller, what do you think Colbert coaches and staff are doing Thursday, taking it easy and monitoring or war room style meetings? Again, by the time the draft starts, you're kind of just, you have your board set, you've done all your meetings. I mean, as Tomlin talked about in his press conference today, that they're going to use Thursday as an opportunity to kind of sit back, see how the system works, get familiar with things, and not have that pressure of having to make a pick like other teams. So I don't want to say they're taking it easy, but they don't have to do this crazy last second preparation because they've already done all their preparation.
I would hope most of your work's done by now.
Yeah, for Pittsburgh, a well-oiled machine. The whole front office is the same as it was 10 years ago. So, yeah, you've done all the work. If you're doing work on Thursday, you've done something wrong. Mike Cantwell, how do you... I don't know the question here. How do you about the quarterbacks behind Ben? I assume, what do you think about the quarterbacks behind Ben? Also, what do you think of the current running backs on the roster? I mean, Rudolph is obviously up in the air. The running back group I've talked about, I think they're higher on Benny Snell than what I think some of the fan base is or believe that they are. But I don't see quarterback happening, and running back, if it happens, it's got to happen early.
Same.
Wes Hickok just did a mock draft, got Kenneth Murray at 49. That's pretty low. Brandon Jones at 102, Bravion Roy 124, Shane Lemieux 148, Lavert Hill 184, 198, Solomon Kinley, and A.J. Dillon at 232. I'll say what Dave's going to say. I wouldn't expect half of those players to go where they ultimately get selected. Let's see. Duck Swagger, is Van Jefferson out of Steelers talks at 102? I think he's on the older side, might be gone by then. I like Van Jefferson a lot. He's a really good route runner. The big issue, he was just like a year younger. He'd really be in the conversation, but I think he fits well aside from the age issue.
Got the injury thing, too, going on right now, too. That'll make it even tougher on him, I think, this offseason on top. I liked his tape. I didn't like it as much as you liked it.
He Senior Bowl. He was the best receiver at the Senior Bowl, and they had a lot of good receivers down there, but fair enough. Curtis Herring Jr., how about the tight end from Washington? That is Hunter, Brian. I always get him and Harrison mixed up. You've watched Hunter, Brian, a good bit, and you're not crazy about that tape, correct?
No, I'm not. I mean, look, as a guy, maybe you can flex out. And who did I compare him to kind of today?
Trey Burton.
Yeah, a guy that he's just not much of a blocker for you. He's real kind of limited. I think skill set. I think coming out originally, early in the process, people had him like one of the top 2 or 3 tight ends in this year's draft class. And realistically, he's more like I view him as more as kind of a later 4th round kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about it either. Curtis Hare, or not, I keep getting these ones mixed up. Mutated Geno, are the Steelers drafting a Dupree replacement? If so, who's the likely pick? I don't know a replacement because they want to have Dupree long term, but they do want to have good edge depth as well. So I think edge is the one spot where they may be drafting that higher than what a lot of fans think. And I'd be looking to Curtis Weaver, Darrell Taylor, Alex Highsmith as potential options, even in round 3.
I think the question is where's Weaver's stock at?
Is round 3 unreasonable? I think round 3 is a decent spot for him.
What about round 4? Is he going to be there in round 4? I those size kind of tweener guys seem to get pushed down just a tad.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between round 3 for Pittsburgh and round 4 is about 20 picks, so it's not a drastic difference. So if you say a guy's there at 102, is it unreasonable for him to be there at 124? No, it's not. He certainly could be. So I want to keep that in perspective. But if he was to pick at 102 or wherever, if he goes top 100, I really wouldn't bat an eye about it, especially in a year where the edge class is thin and you're just trying to find whatever talent you can. Let's see. Reginald Rivers, is this the year to draft a quarterback? No. It is not the year to draft a quarterback. Next year, potentially. Dave Duncan was...
Maybe next year.
Yeah, Dave Duncan, good comment. Brian Cole has off-field issues. Maybe he's changed but left Michigan. Alleged drug issues. Okay, I didn't know that, but that hearts and smarts for Pittsburgh this year is what I think the philosophy is going to be, so that could take Cole out of the equation. AJC, are the Steelers going to bring in another punter? Not going to draft. I want to be very surprised if they drafted one with only 6 picks, but yeah, they'll bring in somebody. I mean, they always have 2 punters in camp, and they got one right now, so should bring in a second. Knoxley, is Ashton Davis more of a free safety or strong? I think he could play both. I think he's someone that could wear kind of any hat you need him to. Free, strong, slot. I think he can kind of do it all.
Where do I have him charted?
Yeah,
I'll answer in a minute.
Okay, Andre Denise, I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. If you have to give a percentage to what position the Steelers are drafting in the second round, what is the percentage for running back and receiver? Well, I kind of cheapened out on the podcast today and said I think it's going to be offense. I think you can make a case for running back, receiver, or more likely interior offensive line, but potentially tackle. So it's kind of like 33% chance for each. I mean, I have to tweak that a little bit. I think maybe I don't know. I haven't even made my mock draft yet. I mean, I could go in a million different directions in terms of the names. So it's kind of like a third, and a third for interior O-line, running back, and receiver. I do think it is going to be offense opposed to defense for the first time they drafted an offensive player with their first pick since the Castro in 2012. So I think that defensive streak ends in 2020. Do you have the charting on Ashton Davis?
No, I'm still trying to pull it up here.
I'll go through it. Eduardo Alex is inside linebacker possibility early on. I think it's a possibility on day 3. I don't think it's going to be early. I'm looking at someone like Tanner Muse in the 4th round. I think they're excited about Ulysses Gilbert III. But Dave makes a good case. Yeah, they signed Mark Barron last year, played him over Vince Williams. Well, I like Vince Williams. Has the circumstances really changed for them to want to expand Vince Williams' role? So we'll find out a lot about their confidence and faith in Vince, and there's also some reports they might have Edmonds in a kind of dime backer role. I'll pull up the article here, which maybe could be a way to temper and tamp down Vince Williams' snap count by using Edmonds in a hybrid role. I guess in that scenario, like Cam Sutton would play safety or somebody they draft or whatever the case is, but a little interesting piece of information there.
Ashton Davis last year, I have him predominantly playing more of a free safety role,
okay.
Sort of like a 4 out of say every 5 snaps.
Yeah, all right.
He played about 100 or so snaps in the box.
Okay, I wish he would have tested it, but he's a good athlete, I think.
He did play a little bit in the slot too, about 100 snaps and a little bit more than 100 snaps in slot as well too.
RN Steelers 8-9, Laviska Shenault, too much of a draft risk if available. Yeah, I think the injury concerns are just too multiple for me. With his play style, I think his durability is always going to be a concern with him.
He's one too that people I think had him kind of that second tier, where I have him kind of more as that 3rd round kind of guy.
Mm-hmm. Deplorable B. All right, what about Evan Weaver at Cal? I love him as inside linebacker. Yeah, very Medikevich like, maybe a little bit above that in terms of what he could offer defensively. Probably going to be, I'm going to say fourth to 5th round pick for Evan Weaver. Mutated Genome. Do you guys like Darrell Taylor? I do. I really wish he would have tested. He's got that foot injury he had to play through, but he's got some toughness. He played through that the entire season. A big dude, fits what they look for. I could really see Darrell Taylor becoming a Steeler.
Yeah, I liked his sack reel for sure.
This is from Duck Swagger. Do you think Kayvon Wallace will be there by our first 4th rounder? And is Dave higher on Anthony Jennings than you are, Alex? Yeah, I think that Wallace could be, and there's a decent chance he would be. He may sneak into late day 2, but right around there would make sense. And I'm not even sure how you feel about Anthony Jennings. So
I think you're a little higher than I am on him.
Because I'm not crazy about him. So maybe.
Yeah, I'm not overly crazy about him either. Yeah.
Yeah. Donald Tillman, sleeper, outside linebacker, Tipa. Galay? I don't know how to say that last name. And just send him to James Harris 92 to put some weight on the guy. Okay, that's not the Tulsa kid, that's Gibson. I don't know if I'm familiar with the name, Donald. Hey, I get it right, Andre. All right, gold star for me. I'm not going to try it again because I got it right, and I'm done. Andre also asked, what are the odds Steelers draft a safety like Davis in the 2nd round, considering Kevin Colbert said today that Minka was our first pick? I don't think that has anything to do with their plans for this year. I do think they need safety depth because there's nothing behind Minka and Edmonds and Ashton Davis. I mean, or Winfield, as you mentioned, Dave, I think would be a very good selection.
Yeah, I just think I think they're going to go offense.
I do too.
That strays me away from that.
Yeah. Avon Druska 8. What player, if they were available at 49, would you say is a no-brainer, sprint to the podium type of selection akin to the Castro, Jarvis, Jones? Was Jarvis a sprint to the podium guy? Am I misremembering that because of how badly the pick turned out? The Castro
4.9 sprint.
Yeah, oh, come on, Dave. That one stings for Jarvis Jones.
4.9. Well, what do you run?
It was like a 4.95 or something. It was bad. And the 3-cone was even worse. Yeah. The Castro though was certainly.
I'm not one to pat myself on the back or anything like that.
Never.
But, boy, you come out. You looked at that tape right away, that Georgia tape, that sack reel of his, and oh boy, you face palmed yourself, or at least I did.
To the question though, what player would you sprint for? For me, it's probably Denzel Mims from Baylor, the receiver.
I mean, if Jefferson's, if the LSU product, Justin Jefferson somehow fell,
Mm-hmm.
I would kind of consider he's kind of one of those ones that you think, no, there ain't no chance that guy's going to be there.
Right.
You know?
I don't see a chance. But if he is, then yeah, I'm sprinting. I'll race you to the podium, Dave. Mutated Reginald says, "Great show, guys. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Reginald." Mutated Genome. I went to Tennessee, so I would like to see the Steelers pick a Vol. Jawan Jennings. I love Jawan Jennings. I know he did not run well, but that dude's such a freaky, unique, big slot type. It's a lot of fun, high energy kind of dude. The guy prospect I pulled up here. Watch out for the Steelers taking Marquez Callaway. Dave T made a mention of that on the podcast when he was on the show, and I could see him being a 6th-round pick. A jump ball machine that's got to get better on against press coverage. Wes Hickok, more like a 5'7" sprint. Yeah, Jarvis. Let's put Jarvis in the back of our memories. That's bad karma for the draft coming up. Duck Swagger, is there a later round nose tackle, like around the 4th, that you guys like? If a Devon Hamilton or a Rashad Lawrence could slip there, then yeah. Dave T also mentioned Bravion Roy, the nose tackle from Baylor. That the more I learn about him, the more I like him. I could see that in the 4th round. Those are the kind of names I would point to as potential 4th round picks.
Mm-hmm.
Andre, is there a running back or wide receiver in this draft at 49 you wouldn't pass, no matter what? I don't think that guy or running back exists for me at receiver. As I said with Mutate, or not, whose question was Avontra's question, it'd be Denzel Mims for me. Joel Coleman, hello from, and I'm going to butcher this, and I apologize here, how do you say that? Wollongong, Australia. Thanks for the show. Thank you, Joel, so much for being here. If Zach Bond, you must be up late for this show. If Zach Bond and his diluted P-test somehow falls, is he a slam dunk pick at 49? We talked
about that this morning, yeah.
I don't view him as slam dunk, but very tempting. I know I use that word a lot, but tempting. I don't know if I would go slam dunk, though.
I think he's a little overrated. Another one of those ones that I just think a little overrated. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with him? Where are you gonna play him?
Yeah, at the edge, but he is a little undersized to play the edge, especially for Pittsburgh that likes their outside linebackers to be big dudes. Mutated Genome, thank you so much for being here with the stream. Yeah, a couple more questions and then we'll end things. Again, we'll be back. Maybe we'll do one Monday. I know it's going to be really crazy and chaotic. I mean, hopefully we can do something Monday. I don't know if, we'll kind of see how that works. But, yeah, this will be, I will try to do for me, because I'm sure Dave will not want to be part of this, another mock draft, maybe on Thursday, right before the actual draft kicks off with you guys and hang out for a little bit. I might do that. So if you guys want to be around maybe Thursday before the draft, we can do kind of a mock draft simulator and just have a little discussion there. I get it right. Okay, I'm lucky with the pronunciations today. Noxley, how does Zach Bond's tape compare to TJ's coming out? I'm trying to think back to TJ coming out.
TJ had more on him,
Yeah,
bigger dude, hands. TJ's hands were something there. Just a bigger player and more adapt to handle edge responsibilities.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way, yeah. Okay, guys, I think that's going to be about it for the stream. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Again, Dave's mock draft will go up probably tomorrow. Mine on Wednesday, the full mock draft on Thursday. And then, of course, the draft begins on Thursday, and the Steelers get the party started on Friday.
Thank everybody for being in here. Thank you for visiting SteelersDepot.com. Hopefully you're following us on Twitter and retweeting our stuff as well, too. We love you all. Stay safe and healthy, and thank you for being with us tonight.
All right, guys. Yep, as Dave said, take care. Be safe. We will talk to you soon. Thanks so much for being here.